Let's call to order our regular City Council meeting, Sherwood City Council meeting for June 15th, 2021. Will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Sylvia, roll call.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Rosner.
Here.
Councilor Browse, I believe, is with us. Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
Councilor Browse, hi. Councilor Garland.
Present.
Councilor Young.
Here.
Councilor Griffin.
Here.
Councilor Scott. No, Councilor Scott yet?
Correct. He's not here.
His
All right,
battery conveniently died in Hawaii.
So item 4 on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion, we make the mayor read the agenda. Or that's consent, right? Consent's the fun one.
He has
I
to.
second.
Where's our legal intern?
I know. Where's Josh's intern when we need that? I second the agenda.
All right. Discussion on the motion. For reference, I will be asking the city council to not act on item C, but to continue it to the meeting on the 21st of public hearings, the fee schedule. But I don't think we need to do anything to the agenda because of my idea. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we have a long consent agenda this evening. Item A of the consent agenda is approval of the May 27th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is approval of the June 1st, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item C is resolution 2021-032 approving the city investment policy and authorizing investments. Item D is resolution 2021-033 authorizing the city manager pro tem to enter into a public improvement contract with Moore Excavation Inc. for construction of the Rock Creek Sanitary Sewer Trunk Line upsizing phase 1. It's a short title, brief to the point. Item E is resolution 2021-034 authorizing the city manager pro tem to purchase a Vermeer directional drill and trailer for Sherwood Broadband. Item F is resolution 2021-035 authorizing the city manager pro tem to sign a 5-year intergovernmental agreement with Metro for the solid waste community enhancement program. Item G is resolution 2021-036 certifying the provision of certain municipal services in order to qualify the city to receive state revenues. And the last agenda item is item H, resolution 2021-038 approving hiring in certain positions by the city manager pro tem.
Make a motion to approve consent. Second.
Oh, got it.
Russell, thank you for the motion. Kim for the second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, council. Citizen comments. Sylvia, do we have any citizen comments for this evening?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Thank you, Sylvia. New business. We have one item under new business, resolution 2021-037, adopting the capital improvement plan, or referred to all the time as the CIP, for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. Julia.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Yeah, this is you adopt this every year. It's also included within the budget. The 1-year CIP projects are what we anticipate spending money on next year. So that is in the budget, as well as the 5-year CIP. And in the council staff report, we have listed out all of those projects. What you are adopting with this resolution is the full document that includes not just the 1-year CIP project list and the 5-year CIP project list, but is recognizing all of the projects that are incorporated into our variety of master plans, as well as any special projects or things that have come up over the course of the year or prior years. That is what is in front of you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Julia. Questions for Julia? We've as a council, we've reviewed this. We review it every year, multiple times, and we did certainly this year. So I don't think there's any surprises. But anybody see anything that popped up we want to ask about? Seeing none, is there anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-037, adopting the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2021-22.
Second.
Thank you, Kim and Russell, for the second. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of resolution 2021-0337, adopting the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2021-2022, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, council. Thank you, Julia. Public hearings. We have 5 public hearings this evening. Sylvia? You're muted, Sylvia. Happens to the best of us.
All right, how's that?
Right.
The Sherwood City Council will open a public hearing to hear testimony on 5 items this evening. Item 1 would be Resolution 2021-039, adopting hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives for the city manager position. Item B, Resolution 2021-040, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2020-21 and making appropriations. Item C, Resolution 2021-041, adopting a schedule of fees as authorized by the City Zoning and Community Development Code, establishing fees for miscellaneous city services and establishing an effective date. Item D, Resolution 2021-042, declaring the city election to receive state shared revenues. Item E, Resolution 2021-043, adopting the fiscal year 2021-22 budget for the City of Sherwood, making appropriations, imposing and categorizing taxes, and authorizing the city manager to take such action necessary to carry out the adopted budget. The public hearings this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present a staff report for each item. Questions, if any, by the City Council for staff. We will consider any written testimony. And Mayor and Council, at this time, we have not received any testimony for any of the items listed on the agenda. We will then open the public hearing. We will then close the public hearing. Other comments will be accepted. Final comments by staff, questions of staff by the council, followed by discussion by the council.
Thank you, Sylvia. So the first item on the public hearing is Resolution 2021-039, adopting hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives for the city manager position. Josh.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as you are all aware, we are currently in the process of recruiting a new city manager for the city. And under Oregon law, in order to be able to conduct parts of that recruitment process in executive session, such as interviewing candidates or discussing council preferences regarding candidates that they have interviewed or received applications from, it's necessary for the council to first adopt hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives for that hiring process. That is what this resolution would accomplish. The standards, criteria, and policy directives were largely taken from the position profile that was developed by the city's recruiter and has already been advertised. The major addition in that respect is to specifically authorize the city manager pro tem to be able to reimburse candidates for expenses for traveling to an interview in the event that we do that in the future. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Josh. Questions for Josh? Pretty straightforward. A motion by councilors.
I'll make it up.
Resolution 2021-039, adopting hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives for the city manager position.
Second.
Thank you, Renee and Tim. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor of approving resolution 2021-039, adopting hiring standards, criteria, and policy directives for the city manager position, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item B, resolution 2021-040, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2020 to 2021 and making appropriations. David?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen with you folks here. Okay, so in front of you, I'm going to you'll see a supplemental budget. We normally do 2 supplemental budgets throughout the year. The first one we did was in the first meeting in December. So this is just the last one of the year. We're just doing some cleanup work. There were some unexpected expenditures. Oregon budget law allows us to do supplemental budgets. And some of these amounts were large enough that it required a public hearing. If it's under a 10% threshold or 10% change in appropriation, we don't have to go through a public hearing, but some of these were large enough. In the general fund, we're accounting for the additional CARES Act money we received through Washington County. Some additional expenditures, we signed an IGA with Washington County for the Community Psyche Grant Program. That revenue was included in that, just about 1.5 million in additional CARES Act funding. We did have a new expenditure with the city manager recruitment. There are only 2/3 of that expenditure is occurring in this fiscal year, and the rest of it's budgeted next fiscal year. There was some additional costs for software subscriptions, and this is just, folks are teleworking. There are some additional costs, to get folks working remotely throughout the year. We're accounting for the additional business grants that we had given out. All this had already through IGAs with Washington County. We're accounting for those additional expenditures. And then with the creation of the new 2021 Sherwood URA, there were some expenditures, getting the legal description down that community development had to incur. So total proposed use of funds is a little over $400,000, with the remaining just about 1.1 million going into reserve for future years, going into just fund balance. In the construction fund, we had to account for some additional costs with the Cedar Creek Trail project that occurred in February with the state of Oregon. So we had to move some money around. The additional costs were 1.4 million. So we transferred in some money from the street capital fund. And then we're putting that 1.4 million towards the Cedar Creek Trail project. In the street capital fund, we had additional $110,000 transferred in from the street operations. Currently, we budgeted $600,000, but we had to move about $110,000 more in the street operation fund. And then you could see we transferred out to the general construction fund that 1.4 million for the Cedar Creek Trail project. And then just with the timing of some of these capital projects, some of the projects moved a little bit quicker. So we're using some of our reserve for future years, not only for the Cedar Creek Trail project, but also for some of those additional capital projects that are moving a little bit quicker than expected.
And David, just a question on that. That negative 2 million, that's not the balance, that's just the amount you moved.
Yeah, we're just taking over. Normally in the budget, you'll have your revenues, and then you have your expenditures, and at the very bottom, you have reserve for future years. And this one had, I believe, off the top of my head, it was about $5 or $6 million reserve for future years. And so we're just reducing that reserve for future years. The way Oregon budget law works is there's only certain funds that you can budget for contingency. And because this is a capital project fund, it does not allow you to budget for any kind of contingency. So we're allowed to remove that from basically fund balance or reserve for future years.
I just didn't want anyone watching thinking that was the actual balance on the fund.
Yeah, no, that's not the balance. That fund still has a significant balance in there.
Yeah.
In the street operations fund, I know I covered it on the previous slide. We're transferring in from the street operation fund additional 110,000. So the street operation fund, we have to increase that transfer out from currently it's at 600,000. We're increasing it by 110,000, but luckily this fund has contingency. So we're not taking anything out of reserve for future years. We budgeted contingency in this fund because it's an operation fund. So we're just removing that from contingency. And in the storm fund, just being new to the city, last year when we budgeted all the capital projects, they were all budgeted under the capital side of the storm fund, when actually some of those were actually part of the operation projects. And so we're just moving that money around, just taking out of capital and actually put it in operations where it belongs. And then lastly, the water fund, we did that debt refinance transaction in February, which is going to save the water fund. I think it's roughly around $3 million over the remaining life of the loan, but we had to account for that first initial payment for this new debt refinance. It was due June 1st, but this is just the cost of principal and interest for that one payment. And with that, I am open up for any questions. Here's a summary, just kind of showing what appropriations have changed, revenue, expenditures.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Questions for David? Any going once, going twice? Discussion or motion by councilors?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve resolution 2021-040, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 and making appropriations.
Second.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Renee. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of resolution 2021-040, adopting supplemental budget for 2021 and making appropriations, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Resolution 2021-041, adopting a fee schedule as authorized by the city zoning and community development code, establishing fees for miscellaneous services and establishing an effective date. David, as I kind of hinted before, this is the one that I'm going to ask council to continue and after we get the report to Monday, our next city council meeting, because of an adjustment that we need to make on a short list of the fees. But I'll let David give an overview before I ask council to continue it.
Thank you, Mayor. So, during the budget process, the city of Sherwood, we annually as departments, we review all the fees and update them accordingly if necessary. The proposed fees, they fall into one of four categories. I'm not going to go into each and every change. I'll just kind of touch on a few of the changes. Some of these are just general standard increases that we do each and every year. I do have the department directors on this call, just in case there's any detailed questions you have. But for example, with the business licenses, this is all in the staff report. There's a fee reduction for small new businesses headquartered in Sherwood or manufacturing technology businesses. I know during the budget process, we discussed, or during the budget committee meetings, just with library fines and fees, we removed overdue fees and replacement cards. Planning, residential design, there's addition of fees for residential design checklists. In the building section, increase in fees for total valuation for single family and two family dwellings. There's manufactured dwelling installation permits. There's increases for home setup and installation fees. There's increase for fees for total valuation for commercial and industrial and multifamily. And like I said, these are just standard increases that we do each and every year. I know we're capped at times by, that 2% threshold that the voters approved. So with that, I don't feel I need to go through each and every one. I'm kind of just really opening this up for general questions. These fees have been included in the proposed 21-22 budget, which we'll get to here in a minute. So that, there's no additional financial impacts of this resolution. With that, I'd like to open it up for questions from council.
Thanks, David. Questions?
Guess my only question is, why do we want to, what is it that we want to wait and delay this for?
There's a short list of fees that are regulated by the charter. And since that charter change occurred, the annual inflation rate has exceeded that limitation, but we've kept it to the 2% limit. This year is the first year that it actually came in under. So it is best to stick to the 2% to make up a little bit of what we lost and got behind in prior years.
Oh, so the fees in the current fee schedule were only increased by the
1.5%.
1.5 as opposed to the 2.
Yeah,
I knew this day would
all the other
come.
fees that are not regulated by the charter or adjusted, as they should be adjusted. But this set, in my opinion, I would recommend that we would adjust to the 2% to make up for a little bit of the loss the last 5 years.
And I can give you a little historical perspective. For example, like in 2019, the CPI index was 2.8%. 2018, you're talking 3.1%. And 2017 was additional, it was 3.1%. So, the mayor does bring up a good point here.
That makes
My
sense to
question
me.
is, delaying this to Monday, that doesn't have any impact on us approving the budget tonight, though? They're not tied together?
We have to get it all done by the end of June, but we can do the budget. We can do everything else today and do the fee schedule Monday, and we're okay.
Okay.
Great question. Any other questions of the different fees on the proposed resolution? So since it is a public hearing, as noticed, I'd move that we continue resolution 2021-041, adopting the schedule of fees, et cetera, to our next city council meeting, which is a special meeting on Monday, June 21st.
Second.
Thank Tim, discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion to continue resolution 2021-041 to the city council meeting on June 21, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, council. Thank you, David. Item D is, and I apologize, we didn't have any public testimony, but I think I failed to formally close the public hearing on the first couple. So, Josh, do I need to pause and say that we're closing the public hearing on 39 and 40? Or is that implied?
I think you just did it. So I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Little details. Okay, so item D is resolution 2021-042, declaring the city's election to receive state shared revenues. David?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to share my screen with you folks again. Okay, so the city is required to hold 2 public hearings for this resolution in order to obtain and receive state shared revenue as per state law. The first hearing for this resolution was held on May 27th during the final budget committee meeting. The state shared revenue, and Councilor Young, I believe you brought this up during the budget committee meeting. I made sure to correct this chart here because there's some questions on the marijuana revenue, and you can see the significant decrease just due to the passage of that measure 110 decriminalizing certain drug related offenses. It's state shared revenue. It's received, it's allocated based on Sherwood's population, which as of December 15th, 2020 was 19,885. The revenue falls into the category of intergovernmental revenue in the general fund and intergovernmental revenue in the street operations fund. And here you can kind of see the breakdown of the various revenue pots in the general fund. So right here is where the cigarette taxes, the liquor taxes that we're projecting we're going to receive through the state shared revenue and the marijuana tax revenue. And in the street operations fund, we have our gas tax allocation and the apportionment of vehicle taxes. Now, the use of the state shared revenue, it's combined with all of the non-restricted funds. It's not specifically designated. I know a little bit of that marijuana tax revenue is, but police operations is general funded. So this is all recorded in non-departmental, which funds a lot of these departments. These activities support public safety, administration, community services, and then in street operations, the use of those funds, various paving activities, slurry seal, crack seal, equipment and personnel.
Hey, David, just to clarify, the state shared revenue of the marijuana funds is not restricted. It's only the local.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Good catch.
And with that, I'm open up to, I know we didn't receive any public comments, but any comments from council. I know this is the second hearing we're holding on this topic. I'll open up if there's any further questions you folks have.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So we'll close the public hearing portion for this resolution. Questions for David from council?
David, I just wanted to clarify the amount that we got for the marijuana tax. This is the first year that we've received that, and that was 265,000. Is that what that slide said?
Hold on.
265, 256, something like that.
No, the way it has to work is I'm required to combine the marijuana because we have one operator here in the city of Sherwood. So I'm combining the marijuana tax revenue with other state shared revenue because we have the local tax portion, and then we have the money we're receiving through the state. So for this current fiscal year, that decriminalization measure 110 is only supposed to affect the very last quarter of this fiscal year. So I'm still projecting in totality, we're going to be around the $65,000, $70,000 mark. Again, there's certain little nuances when it comes to marijuana tax revenue where you got to get some historical data. But this upcoming fiscal year, it's being decreased significantly because of that, the measure 110, and the city's expecting just about $25,000 to $30,000.
And to be specific on that, the state shared revenue amount will be decreased. Does that affect the local amount?
No, that does not affect the local amount. It's just the state shared.
Okay.
The state shared portions capped at a specific amount. So I know there's some work in the legislation right now where there's talk about, what cities can do on the local tax.
We're currently capped at 3% tax there, right?
Right now everything is capped for cities, and it's taken about, I think it's about a 73% decline in revenue that's going to be shared with cities going forward.
Thanks, David.
Great. Other questions for David? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on item D?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve resolution 2021-4042 declaring the city's election to receive state shared revenues.
Second.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Renee. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving resolution 2021-042, declaring the city's election to receive state shared revenues, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, David. And the last public hearing item for this evening is item E, resolution 2021-043, adopting the fiscal year 2021-22 budget of the city of Sherwood and making appropriations, imposing and categorizing taxes, and authorizing the city manager to take such action necessary to carry out the adopted budget. David.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm going to share my screen just really quick on something here. But I just want to provide a quick recap. I know this is what you've kind of already heard through the URA, but the final budget committee meeting was held on May 27th, where the committee voted on the proposed budget. There was a few changes that we discussed, and I just want to point out to the committee, or not the committee, to council, that these changes have been made. One of those was increasing the intergovernmental revenue in the sanitary fund by that 1.95 million. That's just the reimbursement we're getting through Clean Water Services for that Rock Creek project, the Rock Creek Trunk project. And then also in the general fund, we decreased salaries because there were some requested positions for the library, but the budget committee decided, why don't we hold off and wait to see where things are going to be going with the future of this intergovernmental agreement and the library cooperative, which we decided, the committee decided to hold off. So we decreased the personnel expenditures by that $43,000. And there was some additional just language cleanup in the capital improvement plan in terms of the Festival Plaza. We removed the verbiage of parking lots. So really the budget is now ready to be voted on by council and formally adopted. As we've already talked about, this is the final opportunity for citizens to provide any kind of public comment on the budget. We didn't receive any public comment on the budget. And just before I turn this over to questions, I just want to thank the entire budget committee made up of citizen members, council. I want to thank the departments and the finance staff for all their hard work on the proposed budget. It does take a lot of time to gather all this information and produce this document. So I just want to thank everyone who's involved in this process. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions that council may have.
Here, here. Thanks, David. Questions for David on the proposed budget? Good job explaining the changes from the budget in our budget meetings. Good job. Again, discussion. Is there a motion? Tim's reaching for something.
Here I go. Just a sec. Gotta get on my screen. I move we adopt resolution 2021-043, adopting the fiscal year 2021-22 budget of the city of Sherwood, making appropriations, imposing and categorizing taxes, and authorizing the city manager to take such action necessary to carry out the adopted budget.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution 2021-043, adopting the 2021-22 budget, city of Sherwood making appropriations, imposing, categorizing taxes, and authorizing the city manager to take such action necessary to carry out the adopted budget. Say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you, council. Thank you, David. And David, thank you and your team and staff for working hard on this budget. You know, this one was 100%, try to deal with during COVID, the challenges that stresses. Throw on top of that, city manager leaving, having a fire branded interim city manager to try to cope with. Kristen, you're doing a great job. Just to be clear. But good job to you and your team to get through it and explain it well. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
As well as, just to throw it out again, the refinancing of our long-term water debt was very important for our physical health with our water. It will benefit our ratepayers for years to come, as well as great job for you and your team with the CARES application of working with the entire city staff, but with your submitting the paperwork to get reimbursement from getting federal dollars through the county. Great job.
Thank you.
City manager report.
Good evening. I just have one fairly quick announcement tonight. As you are all aware, the recruitment closed yesterday for our city manager. And I just heard from the recruiter just before the meeting started. and wanted to update all of you. We have received 34 applications.
Wow.
Up quite a bit from what we were looking at last week, and they are coming from 13 different states. So we should have a great representation, and we're really looking forward to next week. So that's my only announcement, unless anyone has any questions for me or the rest of my team.
Awesome. Other questions for Kristen and her team? Well, we got free irrigation for the weekend. I think we got all of our parks well hydrated, and with the upcoming dry weather. So the kids should be pretty darn happy for the next couple of weeks if the weather forecast is right. But I'm quite confident by the time we get to the July 4th, we will have clouds, and then the 5th, it will be sunny again.
Ah,
Whoa.
don't say that.
Why would
If I
you
say
even
it,
say
it won't
something like
happen.
that?
If I say it, it won't happen. That's my logic.
Can we censure the mayor for that statement?
Was that like reverse jinx?
It is a reverse jinx.
Yeah.
We're gonna get rain and then we won't get rain.
Wow.
Let's just make him read the consent agenda again. That was fun.
Then you have to listen to it again.
Oh my gosh. I think I fell into a coma. I'm just kidding. I really was awake the whole time.
So seriously, any questions for Kristen and team?
Oh, hey, I do have one question. Did we finalize plans for how we're going to do Tuesday night?
Tuesday will be in person.
Okay.
Yay.
I know, yay.
Super stoked about that.
Assuming different things, I expect city council, we will, if the governor lifts all restrictions, we'll be looking at either the first or the second meeting in July to return to regular pre-COVID days of city council meeting.
Also, yay.
Have
Yeah.
we finalized the time for Monday and what's the time frame for Tuesday?
Kristen?
6 o'clock for both.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for her? Council announcements.
I'll go.
Mhm.
So with my assignment to Washington County's Community Development Block Grant Policy Advisory Board, what we're working on right now is
Somehow you got muted. I don't know how.
That's the mayor's jinx.
Can I get a screenshot of that?
I know.
Can't hear you.
Kind of.
So we'll continue. Anyone else want to make council comments? Kim might return, but might not. Sorry, Kim. We're at the end of this road, thankfully.
I'll just do a quick one. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So just want to do a couple shout outs here. Tomorrow, my middle daughter, Ivy, is being promoted from Archer Glen. So done with 5th grade. So she'll be my second of 3 daughters who will have completed their time through Archer Glen. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to Archer Glen, the administration there. Like I said, I've had 2 daughters now go all the way through Archer Glen. Principal Smith, he is retiring at the end of this year. If you haven't heard, he is a fantastic man and dedicated to what he does. I attended the school board meeting last week where they recognized a lot of our retirees, folks that are moving on. And Principal Smith has been an amazing person. Just his passion for the schools and for the students is remarkable. So big thanks to him and thanks to everybody at that school. The front office staff, Sandy Emmert, everybody is just so receptive, such great communications. So I have a 2-year-old at home. So in a few more years, we'll be back in Archer Glen. So looking forward to that. But now it's on to middle school. So I just really wanted to recognize the staff at Archer Glen. I know all of our schools here in town are great, but both of my children have gone through Archer Glen, and it's been an extraordinary experience. And I can't thank them enough for what they've done for both my daughters and all the other kids that have come through that school. They really do make good people there. So thank you to Archer Glen. So that's all.
Way to go, Ivy. Awesome. Other council announcements? Renee?
Yeah, sorry. Really quick, while I was not able to attend the work session because the organization that I serve as in my paid life is hosting their annual event tomorrow. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow between 7 and 8, please tune in to our annual event. We're raising funds for the Good Neighbor Center, but sorry for not attending today's work session. As far as my assignments, both the library and the senior center or the senior advisory board, they're continuing to open safely for their clients and continue to serve the community. And I did wanted to share that if you haven't been able to visit the new business in town, I'm blanking on the first part of the name. Mercantile's the last part. Mockingbird, something along those lines. It's out at Hunter's Ridge. It's a really cool shop that just opened. Chamber of Commerce had a ribbon cutting last week. If you've not visited, I encourage you to do so and support our new business. And that's all I have.
Great, Renee. I'm confident you will have a very successful event tomorrow. That's great. Russell?
Yeah, there we go. We had the Parks Board meeting last week, and after the whole Parks Master Plan, a couple of years, it was kind of quiet. So the real excitement is, well, kind of a unfortunate two things. First, pickleball is, I would say, acting up, and that's probably true in any way you can think of that. So where some of the board members are getting a smaller committee together and kind of looking into the issue of how can we make pickleball easier in the city. So they're just looking into that. And then we lost our Parks Board chair, Eric. And I want to also mention whomever is posting those, hey, we have a board opening, those on the Facebook. What a great job they're doing. I was like, hey, it's top rate. It looks awesome. So so the Parks Board as well is down, but great job whoever's doing that in social media. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Kudos, shout out to Eric. Eric did a great job.
He's great. He's awesome.
I'm sorry that he is relocating.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Kim, yes, you're back.
Ooh, okay. So with the Washington County Community Development Block Grant Policy Advisory Board, in January, we had allocated $200,000 of CARES funding towards a shower trailer. So we just had opened the application process. We only received one application. So the board is in the process of scoring that application. They have a really good chance probably of getting the contract. So this applicant proposes to purchase two bay shower stalls, which will be used around the county for folks that don't have places to take showers, houseless people. So that will be a great benefit to the county. As far as the YMCA, they are just going full-fledged. They have opened back up. They have no mask required if you're vaccinated. You can privately show them your vaccination card and they will mark your membership so that when you scan in, it just beeps somehow and tells them you're fine without your mask. And then their summer camps are just going crazy wild. They have had to hire so many people because they're filling summer camps like crazy. And as they fill one, they're adding another and adding another. And the types of summer camps is amazing, from cooking to STEM to, the basic summer camps, basketball, art, painting. I mean, it's what they're offering is really awesome. And not just at the YMCA, they've expanded into using other facilities like the Countryside Community Church and Jurgens Park, which I think might be in Tiger, and I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, I just think they're doing a great job coming out of COVID and ramping up. There's, parents going back to work. Summer camps are needed, and they are going to fill that need. So that is all I have.
Thank you, Tim. Tim?
Just a couple things. Had a WRWC meeting, Willamette River Water Coalition. For those of you out in YouTube land, that is it's a group of 4 organizations, 3 cities, and Tualatin Valley Water that manage our water rights on the Willamette River to get the water that runs through our treatment plant and ends up coming out our faucets in our homes. So we had a meeting there. We got an update on some of the projects that are going on in terms of improving the intake facility on the Willamette, which a lot of that work's been done through the WIF, which Sean is our designated representative on. But it was a quick meeting, not a lot going on. Things are moving forward nicely there. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to Washington County, which is leading the state in the percent of people that have gotten vaccinated or have at least one shot. We're at 71.8%, I believe. I can't remember the counties that are behind us, but Washington County's doing a great job. We are so close, folks. We're at 68% statewide. We just need 2 more percent, 71,000 people to go out and get vaccinated, and we can get reopened again. So I encourage all of you to go out and get a shot if you haven't gotten it yet. I've done it. My wife's done it. All 3 of my kids have now done it, and couldn't be happier with the results on that. So get your shots. Let's get reopened.
You're here. Thanks, Tim. Busy with the League of Oregon Cities. We are hosting the League of Oregon Cities board for our first in-person board meeting in a year and a half here in town on Friday in the Arts Center. So that's exciting. Yeah, lots of meetings with those folks lately. Related to the League of Oregon Cities, a past president of the League of Oregon Cities and a friend of mine back in the day, the Maupin mayor, Dennis Ross, he passed away Friday at the age of 80.
Oh, shoot.
Small world. My dad and his family grew up. They had the ranch was up in Central Oregon between Maupin and Madras, and my dad graduated Maupin High a year after Denny Ross, and knew each other. And Dennis graduated, left, had a very successful career in the Air Force. War veteran, came home after he retired with his wife and continued to serve, but on a volunteer basis, and was mayor for a long time. And we've kind of bonded because of family connections, and we were mayors at the same time, and we both left being mayors. We both left around the same time in 2013, but he stayed connected, and yeah, it's unfortunate to see him pass away. It was unexpected. Really good man. Certainly had a WCCC meeting, which is the Washington County Coordinating Committee meeting, dealing with looking at future potential MISTIP program, 3F, early discussions. We're revising the bylaws, very, very exciting, riveting type stuff, but it's significant. We need to do it. One interesting thing that we'll be doing is rotating WCC chair on a regular basis. So every 2 years they get a new chair. And why that's kind of interesting is for the last 30 plus years, Roy Rogers, our county commissioner, yes, he did a county commissioner for over 30 years, has been the chair, but he is stepping away from that role later this year with some different committee assignments amongst the county. So very interesting. And with that, I think anything else good for the order?
Hey, Mayor Mays, The name of the business that I had the brain freeze on is the Meadowlark Mercantile. It's the state bird, duh.
All's forgiven. That's great. Thank you for clarifying, finding that, and letting us know. That's fantastic. So I think we're done with the city council meeting. So we are going to adjourn to an executive session for exempt public records. So enjoy the rest of your night. If you're watching live, if you're watching the recording, thank you for watching, and go enjoy the great outdoors, the great weather that's